and welcome to another episode of a Rockstar Take On. And this time we have a Rockstar Take on agency. I didn't have the topic kind of like prepared the last time. So last time I said in the description box I will put in the topic for next time, and that became agency. And one of the reasons I really love the word agency, well, first of all, it is kind of like a new thing. Like 10, 20 years ago, people didn't have this whole discussion about agency nor about ownership, which is basically the same thing, I think. And uh, so agency and ownership are really, even though we now have words for it, or we have the words were always there, we use them more frequently, and we are more familiar with the concept. So even though we have more affinity with the or more awareness around agency, it's still relatively under the radar. And but I think that even though it is under the radar, or maybe because it is under the radar, it does influence us. It does impact us. We, even though we're not conscious of it, we kind of like reach for agency, or we have the dream of agency, or we have the dream of ownership. So if people are talking about dreams, for example, like not dreams that you have at night, but dreams as in goals, as in things that you want for yourself, I think the underlying premise is really a desire for agency. It's an assumption that if you achieve that dream, very, yeah, like, because it's the Rockstar channel, let's just say the dream of being a rock star, that it will give you it will give you agency. When that, of course, does not it does not necessarily have to be the case. In particular, not if you're not aware of it, that that is what you really want. And um and the other way around, once you realize that the dreams you have about, for yourself, about goals that you want to achieve or whatever, are actually dreams of agency, then you have a much more targeted way to to achieve that. Then you don't have to kind of like go for this very broad goal of becoming a rock star, but you can say, I want I want agency over what I do. And I also think that this is why people often think that, or people see themselves doing a certain profession, and then when they're there, or even on the path of getting there, they can just feel themselves losing interest. They can feel themselves losing agency. And that is because the dream was, I want to have this profession, I want to do this job, with the idea of, and I want to do it my way. But you have to lead with wanting to do something your way. That needs to be like on the front of your mind, and then it doesn't really matter what kind of profession you're going to do. So in all industries and in all organizations, there are explicit and there are unspoken rules about how things are meant to go, are meant to be, and all those things undermine your agency. So when you encounter all those things, you have to do the work of of working through uh, um, the rules, or working through the structures that you encounter, and taking back your agency. And that's really a lot of work. And that's why people usually get disillusioned, is that an English word? by by what they do, because they had the dream of having agency. And I think it can even go for things like having children. We have this idea of, when we grow up and we grow into our uh, um, role as parents, we see ourselves as being parents with agency, when really your ownership over how you want to be a parent is kind of like being taken away from you right from the start in all kinds of explicit and less explicit ways. So if you want to be, that role too, the role of being a parent, if you want to do it with agency, that means that every time someone wants to take your power away, you have to do the work of taking your agency back. And that is usually, there is a way, whether whether this is about parenthood, or whether this is about a profession or a job, usually there is really a way to make it yours, and you will get better at what you're doing. You're better if you do it your own way, and you do it taking full responsibility for it, than if you do it on the structure or the rules of someone else. So there is a payoff, but it's so it's so much work. And but I do think that if you know what you're aiming for, if you know that part of the dreams that you have for yourself, part of the things that you would like to change are actually um, aspects of agency, are actually your desire to be your own person and to have ownership over the things and the relationships that you have in your life, then it does become more feasible to achieve that for yourself, and to establish agency over your life. Okay, so that was it for today. In 2 weeks, I have another Rockstar Take for you. Um, with I said in 2 weeks. I don't think that's true. I think it's 4 weeks. I think it's 4 weeks. I'm sorry. In 4 weeks, I have a holiday coming up. So, uh, yeah, in 4 weeks, and then it's May, so it's definitely the time to do a rockstar take on sexuality. So that's kind of like a recurring theme, once every season, and it's May is the final month, I think, of no, not completely the final month, but it's the heart of spring. So we're going to do the spring episode of Rockstar Take on sexuality. Okay, see you there. Bye.